I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fellow board members, community members, staff, welcome. I think the first thing that we would want to do is have a moment of just silent reflection and prayer for those who have experienced something oh too familiar to us down in Texas. So please. Thank you for that. As we pray for those in Texas, we think and pray for our own community and our own staff that, and our children, who this just pokes at that scab and begins to peel it back a bit. And so we have intentionally reduced the items on the agenda. We've told Mr. Gibbons that he didn't have to present. We've told Steve Wolf that he didn't have to present. We actually were going to cancel the meeting, but we found legally we have to deal with something. Oh, the FOIA request that we gave a 10-day extension to needs to be addressed. And so for everyone, we are hoping to do business and go home and let our cabinet go home and let Ken go home. So yeah, that's it. Mary, would you do attendance, please?
President Donnelly?
Here.
Vice President Griffith?
Here.
Secretary Hanser? Present. Treasurer Bailey?
Here.
Trustee D'Alessandro?
Here.
Trustee Foster?
Here.
Trustee Schaefer?
Thank you very much. And as I already mentioned, changes to the board agenda have been done, and the agenda before you is the new agenda. We took off a number of items and only left those things that we have to get done by date restrictions. Superintendent Weaver, is there anything I missed?
Nope, that's all the changes.
All right, thank you, sir. So we have a consent agenda before us, which is the approval of the minutes of May 17, 2022. Would someone like to put that motion on the floor? Chad?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there support? Eric, support? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now going to go into closed session. I believe it's for a single topic, so we're going to try to get that done as quickly as possible and get back out to this meeting. So 6:35, we're going into closed session.
Need the motion.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, we got a motion, and yes, thank you very much. Someone put the motion on. Mary?
Move to meet in closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Section 8E, for the purpose of consulting with its attorney regarding trial strategy in connection with case numbers 21-CV-12871, 22-1922620-N0, 22-CV-10407, MAG-APP, and 22-10805, and Section 8H, to consider material exempt from disclosure, specifically material exempt from disclosure under the Michigan Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, pursuant to MCL 15.243(1)(b)(i), MCL 15.243 15.243(1)A and MCL 15.243(2).
Thank you, and a little bit scattered, sorry about that earlier. Support? Eric, support? Discussion? Roll call vote?
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. D'Alessandro?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Hanser, yes. Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Donnelly?
Yes. All right. 6:37, we're going to go into closed session, and thank you for your patience. We'll be back shortly. Angela, 7:32, back into open session. Everyone, thank you for your patience. If there is anyone that's wanting to speak during unscheduled audience participation, as always, those cards are available. Get those cards to Angela, and she'll get them to me. If you came in later than we went into closed session, I want you to know that several things were taken off the agenda. We actually were going to try to cancel the meeting due to the tragedy in Texas. It has affected, obviously, everyone in our community, but we had some legal things that we had to do, some motions and things that were date sensitive, so we are going to do those. Other things that were on the agenda were taken off, just so that you know. All right, before us, we're on, for everyone, if you have an agenda, we're on 4B, a FOIA request appeal, Oxford Community Schools. Board members, we have a potential motion. Would someone like to put that on the floor? Heather?
Move to deny the FOIA request appeal from Summers and Schwartz pursuant to Section 10 of the Michigan Freedom of Information Act, MCL 15.2402B.
Thank you very much, Heather. Support? Dan, support? Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The other thing that was date sensitive was the review Oakland Schools Board of Education election 2022 resolution. And I think within that are some choices to be made. You have those documents, don't you, Mary?
Well, I do have the list of
Okay.
candidates.
I mean, you have the one that gets filled out and taken in.
I
So,
do, as the secretary, I have that form.
so based on the discussions that we had last time, as we do this and make selections and whatever, since she's going to be there anyways, Mary's going to be taking those votes physically, the original there, and then Angela will be copying that and sending it via email form. Go ahead.
To add to that, we do need to select an alternate also, just in case I win the lottery and move to Hawaii.
All right.
Oh, an alternate to...
To take, yeah.
To submit, because it's supposed to be
ballot.
physically taken there.
Yeah, actually, the state law requires it, interestingly. Great. Thank you, Heather.
And what's the next item below that?
The two candidates, we need to have...
We have to slate two candidates that
select
we
two
as a
candidates.
board would like to put on. I think in our last meeting, we had mentioned that there were a couple of incumbents or people that had been prior were on the boards.
Correct. We do have two incumbents, Connie Williams and Barb DeMarco. They are running for those seats again. There were two candidates who had no local school board experience whatsoever. Those two are also running in their local districts for school board. They've already filed to be first-time members of their local school boards. Steve Gottlieb is the other candidate who he has not served on the Oakland Schools Board, but he has been serving in Troy and continues to
As a school board member.
a school board member. And I think he's been president.
Anyone to offer?
I'm sorry. Do we
Please.
put names in the motion?
No, the names will go in the resolution.
So we're approving a resolution. Right now, we're filling the resolution out.
Okay. All right. motion.
Please, or yeah, suggestion?
Yeah, well, just go ahead and make the motion, then we open for discussion, and we talk about the different candidates.
I think that the motion is going to include all that information, and so
Right.
that's why we got to kind of do that as a, I mean, we can put the motion on the floor, but yeah, we can't approve, we can do it in discussion. So go ahead, Dan.
Right.
Put it on the floor, and we'll open up for discussion, but that
Okay.
vote is ultimately all four of those categories.
Because I was trying to figure out how do we get to the names.
Right.
And talk about it until we have a motion.
So would you put it on the floor?
Yep. Move to approve the Oakland Schools Board of Education Election 2022 resolution.
Thank you. Support? Eric, support. We'll continue the discussion. We have the alternate in Heather. Now, I just throw it out there. Why not the two incumbents? So, as I looked at the criteria and the experience, I'm just throwing that out as beginning of the discussion.
As I looked at it too, I believe that's probably the best way for us to place our vote, just because it's going to be a trying time in the next, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 months in this state with schools and school boards, and I think you want somebody that's a little bit that's been there and can have those conversations with the folks that are already in that seat. So for that reason, I would say Connie and Barb would be who I would support.
Okay. Anyone else have a comment? Chad?
I concur with your opinions. As I was reading those bios, that's where my mind was sitting, is with the incumbents, Barb and Connie.
All right. And Mary, you're pretty invested. What were your thoughts as you...
Similar to Dan, I think they've been, the incumbents have been doing a good job at Oakland schools. There's no learning curve involved, and we have some really big issues to tackle as a county. And I think it would be beneficial to have the two incumbents back.
Any
on
board
the
members opposed to having the two incumbents? Then let's put the two incumbents in. And after that, I think there's one more thing we have to do, right?
The alternate.
Heather, unless somebody else wanted to sit for that position, Heather had agreed to be the alternate. I will let you know while we're in discussion also if for some reason there was a tie at the actual event, by making me the representative or alternately Heather, you also would give that person the authority to vote for a different candidate if one of these was not the top two.
Got it. So if two people tied, someone that's running against them would tie, then either you or Heather would vote on our behalf.
Right.
Got it.
So yes, you would have to entrust us with that.
All right. Is there anything else on that resolution that we have to fill out before we can put it to a vote?
There is not, unless you would like me to read the whole thing, but there's nothing else to be completed on the resolution.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. And thank you, Mary and Heather. Again, we don't have anything for curriculum instruction, finance and maintenance, human resources, safety, and school operations. We eliminated all of those reports. We are to unscheduled audience participation. Do you have a few more cards? Give me a few minutes to review these, and we'll get to that section. Let's speak about that as they're coming in. We're going to use that podium right there as the place to speak from. I want you to know that we found our light.
She's not here. She wrote this message. I just have those two.
Okay. So this goes with this. Correct?
She's not here. She went home.
Okay. But that goes together. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, where was I? Yes, we're going to speak from that podium. The light will go on at 4 minutes, telling you that you have 1 more minute to go. Then it'll go on 1 more time, telling you that it's 5 minutes and it's over. I've asked our parliamentarian, Corey, to just read our policies and procedures around this time period, this unscheduled audience participation. We just want to make sure that the decorum of our meetings stay as they should be. So, Corey, would you please reiterate those?
Sure. Do you want the entire or just the ending rules?
That ending rules.
Okay. The presiding officer may prohibit public comments which are frivolous, repetitive, or harassing, interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statements when the statement is too lengthy, personally directive, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant, request any individual to leave the meeting when that person behaves in a manner that is disruptive of the orderly conduct of the meeting, request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a disorderly person when that person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting, call for a recess or adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such an option, or completely waive these rules.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Amanda?
Hello. So I just had a couple things that I wanted to say, not even really necessarily directed towards the board, but more so the students. I'd like to say thank you for the last couple of weeks that they've come up, and I'm really happy that they felt so empowered to do so and being involved in the educational system. It's really a great thing. There were a couple of things that were brought up that I've been thinking about. One, they said that they're the next voting population, and two, if they're not happy with the decisions being made in Oxford, where do we go? Well, these are important points, and there does need to be change, but it needs to be on a much larger scale than Oxford, because the policies and the status quo that led us here are not working for us or our children. Why is Mr. Weaver having to sit on the phone for hours trying to encourage our politicians to do the right thing and pass a relief bill for Oxford? I mean, every single one of those elected officials wasted no time offering thoughts and prayers on Twitter for us. So why is it when it comes to being able to actually help us, they're so slow and nowhere to be found? And secondly, there have been also politicians that are publicly criticizing Oxford for not conducting an immediate review. Sandy Hook, Parkland, Virginia Tech, others had committees set up within 2 months to analyze information and make recommendations. So, why doesn't Oxford? Well, something that's important to note that these politicians are leaving out is that Sandy Hook, Parkland, Virginia Tech, they didn't create those committees. Their governors did. Their governors believed that no time should be wasted in finding out what policies could be used moving forward to prevent another tragedy. Their governors commissioned victims' families, mental health experts, law enforcement experts, and others to complete a formal review with recommendations. Meanwhile, our governor has done no such thing, and when asked about it, has no comment. So, while it feels like we're all over here in some nightmare, these politicians that created these bureaucratic hurdles get to have no comment. That doesn't work for us. So, like I said, I am glad that the students brought up these points, and I hope they and everyone else start moving up the chain to make their voices heard. And maybe the news reporters that are all over our town can give us a rest for a minute and go up to Lansing and ask our governor why she is the only one in recent history not to form a committee. Speaking of the committee, one last thing I wanted to say. I like the independent company. I've read Guidepost formal reviews on the Southern Baptist Convention. It's very thorough, very transparent, holds back no punches, and I think this is what our community needs and what these victims' families deserve. So I applaud you in moving forward with this venture, despite our governor's obvious unwillingness to take that off your plate. And I hope that everyone puts pressure on these politicians, that the funding is granted quickly for Oxford, and that the review can be started.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori?
Hi. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. First of all, real quick, I just want to, again, plead for you to reach out to the NCSS, National Center for School Safety. I've done a lot of research onto them. 2 meetings ago, Mr. Donnelly, you explained 2 different ways that you wanted to go ahead with the school starting next year. And the first spot you had mentioned with the SEL, a mix of SEL and certain security and just all those different ways to go about it. It was as if you were reading right from the NCSS, and you fill out the grant, they send you the money, and they help you. They can help identify other areas. They'll assess the school and be able to help you out with the plans and give you the money along the way. So I highly suggest it. I said before, I thought maybe Mr. Griffith or Ms. Hanser, based on their position on the board, might be the best to speak to about it. But if any of you want to speak with me, reach out through email or phone call, text probably, so that we can schedule a time to talk and we can go through. I can send you some literature and really just kind of explain what the NCSS can do for us, hopefully. Or just reach directly to Professor Justin Hines. I think Mr. Weaver, you might have his information now as well. So it's a great program, and I think they can really help out a lot. Additionally, I just wanted to say, I spoke with somebody who was involved in the aftermath and other locations that have gone through the same tragedies. It's disgusting that we continue to go through this over and over throughout this country. But one of the things we talked about is all the infighting that comes after. You know, I thought Parkland was a breeze, everything worked out, and they had a plan, they figured it all, they got together, and I was surprised to hear that's not the case, the amount of fighting that goes on. And somebody had said to me, they had a conversation with a pastor about it, and they were just really having a difficult time with it after Sandy Hook. I'm sorry, with the pastor, and the pastor looked at her and said, you know, it's grief. Some people just want things to go on and pretend like nothing happened, and that's their grief. Some people want to advocate and get involved, and it's all ways, we're all in different stages of grief and how we handle things. I know we've had a lot of students who are trying to speak up. They haven't felt heard, and they're not always censored, and it's not always the most mature things. They're grasping for ways to be heard, and I can't imagine on that side of this table what it's like. I know it's difficult, but I just ask you to remember it's grief from these kids, and this kids trying to be heard and trying to make a difference to make things better. And while sometimes it might not feel, it might just feel mean-spirited, just remember that that's where they are in their stage of healing. They've been thrown into very adult situations, and they're not adults yet. They're young adults. They're getting there. They're learning these things, and it'll come with time. These kids have a bright future, and the ones that come up here and stand, I mean, it's difficult enough as an adult to get up and stand up here, but as a young adult, it's a lot on them, and I just ask for your grace and give them some time. They'll get there. Work with them. Give them the leeway to and understand that sometimes they're not the most mature, but if you listen to the main message that they're saying, if you just stop and think about why they might be saying or doing these actions, we can all work together and help these kids through their healing, give them some power, give them some strength and the opportunity to be heard. And we can work together with them. Don't write them off. They're all good kids. They all have the right. Any kid who got up here and spoke, no matter what they said, they've got a bright future. They're learning, and they've got the guts that most of us didn't have at that age. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The third individual left, but left us a note, so do you have another one? Okay, so there's no more under unscheduled audience participation. We move on to scheduled events. Just a reminder that we have the OVA graduation at 6:30 at the PAC. Bridges the next day, 26th at 7, same place. And then we go into June events. Superintendent Weaver, anything under clarification? Anything that needs to be clarified?
Not at this time.
All right, final board comments? All right, seeing none, anything under other?
There's something, but I don't think so.
No.
I think we're good.
All right. Let's adjourn this meeting. Let's be praying for our community as well as the one in Texas. Thank you.